In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it.
Welcome to Musings of a Cigarette-Smoking Man. I'm Stephen Leake. As the smoke drifts slowly through the dim light of this quiet room, I find myself drawn to reflection, a habit formed through countless nights spent contemplating the unseen threads that weave together the fabric of our existence. Tonight, we embark together on a journey back through the very first season of this podcast, a season that has been, in many ways, a story of freedom. Freedom through thought, freedom through expression, and freedom through the quiet rebellion of musings whispered into the ether. We call this retrospective episode Musings of a Free Man, a symbolic title that captures the spirit of the path we've traveled. Like any good noir tale, this season has been shadowed by uncertainty and shaded with questions both profound and personal, but at its core, it's been about releasing the self from constraints, whether imposed by society, circumstance, or the invisible chains within our own minds. It has been about finding a voice amidst the noise, a calm center amid chaos, and ultimately, a sense of liberation. When I look back on the episodes that shaped this season, I see a mosaic of themes: the quiet strength and vulnerability, the complexity of human connection, the paradox of solitude, and the restless searching for meaning in the mundane. Each conversation, each contemplative pause, was an invitation to dive deeper into what it means to be free, not just in a physical sense, but intellectually and spiritually. The cigarette smoke curling into the stillness became an emblem of these musings, both ephemeral and enduring. This season was never meant to be just about the stories I tell or the ideas I entertain. It was about forging a shared space where listeners and I could meet in the flicker of thought, in the shadows of insight, and challenge ourselves to see the world and our lives a little differently. With that in mind, I invite you now to settle in with me. Let's dim the lights, spark one up, lean into the silence between our words, and revisit the moments that made this first season a tapestry of freedom and introspection. The journey has been marked by contrast, the clash of light and shadow, certainty and doubt, the restless flicker of a flame that refuses to be quenched. Yet within these contrasts, we discovered a rhythm that carried us through reflections on culture, philosophy, and the quiet moments of life that often go unnoticed but are, in truth, the very currents beneath the surface of existence. As your narrator, I've embraced a style that you might describe as contemplative noir, not merely for its aesthetic, but because it suits the mood of these musings. Think of it as peeling back layers of smoke to reveal sharp edges of thought, softened by moments of warmth, nostalgia, and yes, sometimes a hint of melancholy. This tone, reflective, conversational, and intimate, has been the vessel for our exploration, guiding you through a labyrinth of ideas with the steady cadence of a man who has both seen and questioned much. Over the course of this season, we've touched on myriad topics, from the ordinary to the extraordinary. We've pondered what freedom means in a world that often feels like a cage, wrestled with the balance between fate and choice, and celebrated the small victories of everyday autonomy. All the while, the music of quiet thought has underscored each episode, inviting you to listen not just to my words, but to the whisper of your own reflections. Tonight's retrospective isn't just a look back, it's a call to honor the freedom we found in these musings, to celebrate the growth that emerged from uncertainty, and to recognize the courage it takes to question, to wonder, and to be vulnerable. It's also a chance to thank you, the heartbeat of this podcast, whose presence and feedback have given life to these late night rambles. So, as we light another metaphorical cigarette and let the smoke curl and dance, let's step together into a world revisited, where the past season's stories, thoughts, and moments hang like smoke rings in the air, effervescent, yet somehow unforgettable. This is Musings of a Free Man, the Season 1 retrospective, and I'm honored you've chosen to share it with me. Clarity. In a world saturated with information, bombarded by opinions, and clouded by uncertainty, clarity is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. That's what Monarch Holdings International Incorporated offers the world. Clarity in the midst of static and noise. Every day, businesses, entrepreneurs, and creators navigate a relentless barrage. Market fluctuations, evolving technologies, competing voices. It's easy to feel lost, overwhelmed, unsure of the next step. The path forward can seem obscured, the right decisions elusive. This is the static that holds potential captive. This is the noise that drowns out innovation. But what if you could cut through that interference? What if you had a partner dedicated to bringing sharp focus to your vision? Monarch Holdings International is an innovative holding company registered in Nevada, built on a foundation of fostering entrepreneurial spirit, championing creativity, and advancing the principles of individual liberty and free markets. We're not just another corporation. We are a diverse ecosystem of ventures, united by a singular commitment to illuminate the way forward. How do we achieve this clarity? Through a potent combination of principled leadership and cutting edge business intelligence. Our consulting services, for example, leverage the power of advanced tools like IBM SPSS, IBM Watson AI, and Palantir. We transform complex data into actionable, data driven insights and clear strategic recommendations. This isn't just about numbers, it's about providing you with the profound understanding needed to make informed decisions with confidence, unlocking your potential. Our commitment to clarity and innovation extends across our diverse portfolio. from strategic business, market, and political consulting that empowers enterprises to navigate complex landscapes, to our publishing subsidiary, Monarch Literary Limited, which champions free thought, supports unique voices, and challenges the norm. We invest in technology app development, foster overlooked talent in music production, apparel, and support various freedom oriented initiatives. Each subsidiary, while distinct, operates under our core values of integrity, collaboration, and innovation. We believe in empowering individuals and businesses to reach their zenith. At Monarch Holdings International, we don't just offer services, we offer a new perspective. We help you filter out the distractions, identify the opportunities, and build a resilient future. We understand that when you see clearly, you can achieve extraordinary things. We are redefining what it means to be a holding company in today's dynamic environment by focusing on what truly matters, unlocking potential and driving meaningful progress through principled leadership. Are you tired of the static, ready to silence the noise and find your focus? Whether you're an entrepreneur with a groundbreaking idea, a business leader navigating market complexities, or an innovator seeking a partner who shares your vision for a freer, more prosperous world, Monarch Holdings International Incorporated is here to help you achieve clarity. It's time to move beyond the uncertainty. It's time to see your path with precision. It's time to unlock your true potential. Discover the difference clarity can make. Visit monarchholdingsinternational.com to explore our subsidiaries, learn more about our comprehensive services, and understand our unwavering commitment to cutting-edge business intelligence and principled leadership. Monarch Holdings International Incorporated, cutting through the noise, delivering clarity, unlocking your potential. Yes, the recap. One could spend an eternity sifting through the remnants of a season, like searching for lost letters in a dusty attic. But there's a value in revisiting the path taken, and tracing the smoke rings that have dissipated yet somehow linger in the air of memory. Season 1 of Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man was a journey, perhaps not across continents, but certainly across landscapes of the mind. It was a season defined by relentless questioning, a gentle probing at the edges of what we think we know, always circling back to that central elusive concept, freedom. From the very first episode, we set out to peel back the layers of the expected, to look behind the curtain of the mundane. The initial musings often centered on the nature of existence itself, the quiet hum beneath the surface of noise of life. We pondered the weight of history, the echoes of decisions made long ago that shape the present. There was a deliberate attempt to move slowly, allowing thoughts to unfurl like smoke, revealing shapes and forms that are only visible when you grant them the time and space to appear. This wasn't a sprint, it was a meandering walk through familiar, yet often unseen territory. The early episodes grappled with the foundational stones of our perceived reality. We questioned authority, not in a loud, defiant roar, but in a quiet, persistent whisper. What are the true constraints on our lives? Are they the visible walls erected by society, or the invisible cages we construct within our own minds? We explore the notion that perhaps the greatest prisons are the ones we don't even recognize, built from fear, expectation, and the simple inertia of an unquestioned routine. This theme of internal versus external constraint became a recurring motif, a thread woven throughout the season's tapestry, exploring the shackles of expectation and routine. Many early conversations revolved around the heavy blanket of expectation, the expectations of others, of society, and perhaps most insidiously, the expectations we place upon ourselves. I recall dedicating a significant portion of one episode to the silent agreements we make, the subtle compromises that shave off pieces of our authentic selves until we are left wondering who we truly are beneath the polished surface. The musing was simple. Is freedom found in conformity for ease, or in the arduous struggle for genuine self-expression, even when it means standing apart? The answer, as with most things worth pondering, wasn't presented as a definitive statement, but rather as an open question, left hanging in the smoke for you, the listener, to contemplate. We've delved into the suffocating nature of routine, not just the repetitive tasks of daily life, but the routine of thought itself, the predictable pathways our minds follow, the comfortable grooves worn deep by habit. Breaking free from this mental inertia was presented as a fundamental act of liberation. We discussed the power of observation, of simply noticing the world around you as if for the first time, seeing the intricate pattern of a leaf, hearing the shuttle shift in the wind, observing the quiet desperation or unexpected joy in the face of strangers. These small acts of noticing were framed not as trivial pastimes, but as vital forms of resistance against the mind-numbing drone of the everyday. Identity in the shadows, the power of solitude. A significant portion of the season turned inward, exploring the landscape of identity. Who is the man behind the smoke? Who are you, the listener, when stripped of roles and labels? This led to several episodes focused on solitude, not loneliness, mind you, which is the pain of being alone, but solitude, which is the glory of being alone. We challenged the modern world's fear of silence, its constant need for noise and distraction. It is in silence, we mused, that we can finally hear the quiet whispers of our own thoughts, the unvarnished truth of our own desires and fears. The persona of the cigarette smoking man, long associated with secrets and shadows, paradoxically became a vehicle for exploring vulnerability. We touched upon the weight of knowing too much, the burden of seeing patterns others miss, but also the quiet strength found in standing outside the clamoring crowd. There were reflections on the nature of belief, the stories we tell ourselves and to make sense of chaos, and the freedom that comes from accepting uncertainty rather than clinging to comforting fictions. This exploration of identity was less about grand pronouncements and more about intimate introspection, like examining fading photographs under a dim lamp. In these explorations of self, the tone often shifted. While always contemplative, there were moments of unexpected warmth, a wry observation, perhaps even a hint of melancholy for paths not taken, or truths that remained just out of reach. This evolution in tone was organic. The more we delved into the human condition, the less tenable a purely detached perspective became. The persona began to breathe, revealing not just the strategist or the observer, but the man who has lived, questioned, and felt the weight of his own existence. This, too, was a form of freedom, a freedom to be complex, to be contradictory, to be simply human. Social commentary, observing the grand play. While introspection was key, the season also cast a keen eye outwards, offering commentary on the world around us. We observed the machinations of power, the subtle and not so subtle ways systems influence individual lives. This wasn't just about political analysis in the traditional sense, but rather a philosophical look at the structures we inhabit and the roles we play within them. We discussed the paradox of connectivity in a world that often feels increasingly disconnected, the performance of identity on digital stages, and the quiet erosion of privacy in the name of convenience or security. Episodes touching on social commentary were often laced with a certain world weariness, the perspective of someone who has seen behind many curtains and is rarely surprised by the revealed mechanisms. Yet, even in this, there was a pursuit of freedom, the freedom to see clearly, to name things for what they are, even if you cannot change them. There's a quiet power in understanding the game, even if you are a pawn within it. This clear-eyed observation, free from outrage or partisan bias, became a hallmark of the season's outward-looking moments. It was about dissecting the narrative presented to us and seeking the underlying truth, a task often more challenging than it appears. We discussed the constant barrage of information and the difficulty of discerning truth from noise. The freedom sought here was intellectual, the ability to think critically, to question narratives, and to form one's own conclusions based on evidence and reason, rather than simply accepting what is broadcast loudest. This theme resonated strongly with listeners, sparking conversations about the importance of independent thought in an age of curated realities. Looking back, the overarching narrative of season one wasn't one linear story at the beginning, middle, and end, but rather a slowly unfolding tapestry. Each episode added a new color, a new thread, contributing to a larger picture of what freedom might mean in a complex, often contradictory world. It wasn't about escaping the world, but about finding a way to exist within it with greater autonomy of thought, of spirit, and being. The narrative was built upon the contrast between the constraints of the known world, its rules, its expectations, its inevitable disappointments, and the boundless potential of the internal landscape. The freedom we sought to illuminate wasn't granted by external forces, it was cultivated from within. It was found in the quiet rebellion of independent thought, the courage to question, the willingness to embrace uncertainty, and the simple act of seeing the world through one's own eyes, free from the haze of imposed narratives. The podcast style, which began perhaps as a more controlled, almost detached observation, gradually softened. While the contemplative core remained, the conversational aspect deepened. It began to feel less like a lecture and more like a shared contemplation, as if we were sitting together in that dimly lit room, the smoke curling between us, lost in thought. This evolution wasn't planned. It was a natural consequence of the themes we explored, the connection that began to form. Even across the vast distance of the airwaves, the presence of the listeners felt through feedback, and the simple knowledge that these musings were being heard brought a new dimension, a gentle warmth that permeated even the darker, more cynical reflections. The language itself aimed to evoke a certain mood, reflective, slightly melancholic, with a persistent undercurrent of resilience and quiet hope. We use metaphors drawn from shadow, smoke, old objects, and the quiet corners of life to ground the abstract ideas in tangible imagery. The aim was to create an atmosphere that invited listeners to slow down, to pause, and to reflect alongside me. The use of silence, the pacing, the deliberate pauses, these were all integral to the style, creating space for the thoughts to settle and resonate. This season, then, was about finding freedom not in grand gestures or sweeping revolutions, but in the small, persistent acts of reclaiming one's inner world. It was about the freedom to think, the freedom to question, the freedom to be oneself, even in the face of immense pressure to conform. It was a season dedicated to the proposition that the most important territory to conquer is often within ourselves, and the greatest change are those we forge from our own fears and assumptions. In essence, season one was a prolonged meditation on liberation from noise, from expectation, from fear, from the confines of a narrow definition of self. It was a journey into the shadows, not to hide, but to see what could only be discerned away from the harsh glare of the obvious. And in that journey, amidst the smoke and stillness, I believe we found not definitive answers, but something perhaps more valuable, the courage to keep asking the questions and the quiet understanding that the pursuit of freedom is a lifelong endeavor, a flame that must be tended with care and persistence. The highlights, then, are not specific points on a map, but the moments of dawning realization, and the quiet nods of recognition, the shared breath held in the space between a question asked, and the silence that invites contemplation. This was season one, a season of musings, yes, but more importantly, a season of becoming just a little bit freer. Philosophical reflections on freedom and individuality. As the last whiffs of smoke dissolve into the quiet air of this room, leaving behind only the lingering scent and the silence, my thoughts invariably return to the heart of what these musings have sought to explore, freedom. it is a It is a word so often spoken, so readily claimed, yet so rarely truly grasped. Season one, in its meandering path, was, at its core, a prolonged meditation on this very concept, not freedom in the grand political sense, for that has its place, but freedom in the intimate, personal, and often invisible sense, the freedom of the mind, the freedom of the spirit, the freedom to simply be. What does it mean to be free? Is it merely the absence of external constraints? The ability to move where one wishes, speak what one thinks, live as one chooses, unimpeded by laws or chains? That is certainly a vital component, a foundation with which deeper freedoms are difficult to cultivate, but I suspect in our own musing throughout the season have reinforced his suspicion that true freedom is far more an intricate affair. It is less about the world outside you and more about the world within. Consider this paradox. One can be physically unbound, residing in a society that champions liberty, and yet remain profoundly unfree, trapped by fear, by expectation, by tyranny of the comparison, by the deafening noise of external validation, or by the comfortable yet suffocating blanket of unquestioned routine. Conversely, history offers poignant examples of individuals facing immense external opposition who nonetheless demonstrate an undeniable inner freedom, a refusal to surrender their spirit, their integrity, their capacity for independent thought, defining freedom beyond the obvious. Philosophers have wrestled with this question for millennia. The distinction is often made between negative freedom, freedom from interference, and positive freedom, the capacity to act upon one's own free will, to be one's own master. While the former is essential, particularly in a civil society, it is the latter, positive freedom, that seems to resonate more deeply with the soul of these musings. It is the freedom to govern oneself, to chart one's own course, not just through the external world, but through the complex terrain of one's own consciousness. This involves a certain level of self-awareness, a recognition of the forces that seek to shape you, both seen and unseen, the subtle nudges of a culture, the overt pressures of conformity, the internal echoes of past experiences that dictate present reactions. To be free in this positive sense requires an ongoing act of discernment, identifying these internal masters, be they impulses, fears, societal narratives, or internalized judgments, and choosing whether to follow them or to assert your own deliberate will, is a continuous process of self-liberation, peeling back the layers of conditioning like shedding old skin, much like a detective sifting through clues in a smoke-filled room, seeking the hidden truth beneath the surface. The pursuit of this inner freedom requires vigilance and a willingness to question everything, especially the assumptions we hold about ourselves and the world. It demands courage, not the courage of the battlefield, but the quiet courage to confront one's own limitations, biases, and vulnerabilities. The courage to sit with discomfort, to face uncertainty, and to tolerate the inevitable solitude that comes with forging one's own path. The architecture of the inner cage. Throughout season 1, we often found ourselves circling back to the idea of the internal cage. The bars are not made of iron, but of fear, doubt, ingrained habits, and the acceptance of ready-made narratives. We spoke of routine, not just as a repetitive action, but as a potential prison for the mind, the comfortable groove that prevents exploration and growth. We discussed the insidious nature of expectation, the weight of living a life designed by others, or even a life designed by past versions of ourselves that no longer align with who we are becoming. Breaking free from this inner architecture is perhaps the most challenging, yet rewarding aspect of the journey towards being a free man. It is a subtle act of rebellion against the self-imposed limitations that keep us smaller than we are meant to be. It involves recognizing the stories we tell ourselves about our capabilities, our worth, our place in the world, and questioning whether these stories are based on truth or on fear. Philosopher Epictetus, a former slave, understood this profoundly. He argued that while external circumstances might be beyond our control, our response to them, our judgments about them, and our inner state remain within our power. Freedom, in this Stoic view, is achieved by focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, desires, aversions, and accepting what we cannot, external events. While perhaps a stark perspective, it contains a powerful truth. The ultimate sanctuary of freedom resides not in the world outside, but in the disciplined control and clear perspective of one's own mind. Our musings on fear fit squarely into this framework. Fear is a powerful architect of inner cages. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of loss, fear of the unknown. These fears build walls around our potential, limiting our actions and narrowing our horizons. To confront these fears, to understand their roots, and to learn to act despite them, is a fundamental step towards dismantling the inner prison. It's not about eradicating fear, a task perhaps impossible and perhaps undesirable, as fear can also guide, but about acknowledging its presence and choosing to walk through it rather than being paralyzed at the edge. Individuality is an act of rebellion. Hand in hand with freedom is the concept of individuality. In a world that often seems to push for conformity, for fitting neatly into predefined categories, the assertion of one's unique self becomes an act of quiet yet profound rebellion. Individuality is not merely about being different for difference sake. It is about the authentic expression of one's own nature, shaped by unique experiences, perspectives, and values. Season 1 explored this through the theme of solitude. The modern world often equates being alone with loneliness and encourages constant connectivity. Yet it is often in solitude that individuality is forged and nurtured, away from the gaze and expectation of others. In the quiet company of one's own thoughts, we can hear the whispers of our authentic self. It's in this stillness that we can discern our own voice amidst the clamor of external demands. The pressure to conform can feel immense, to think like the group, to desire what is deemed desirable, to present a curated version of the self that is acceptable or popular. Resisting this pressure, gently but persistently, is a vital aspect of cultivating both freedom and individuality. It requires a deep self-trust, a willingness to stand apart, even if it means facing misunderstanding or disapproval. As Waldo Emerson observed, "Whoso would be a man must be a nonconformist. To be a free man, then, implies a commitment to one's own unique truth, even when it diverges from the collective narrative." These musings on questioning narratives and seeking truth also relate here. Individuality thrives when the mind is free to evaluate information, to challenge assumptions, and to form its own conclusions. Accepting narratives without critical examination is a surrender of intellectual freedom and thus a diminishment of individuality. Pursuit of clarity, the willingness to see things as they are, even when uncomfortable, is an act that strengthens both the free mind and the unique self. The weight and wonder of self-ownership. To claim one's freedom and individuality is to claim ownership of oneself. This is not without its weight. It means taking responsibility for one's choices, one's reactions, and the shape of one's life. If you are truly free, you cannot easily blame external circumstances or other people for your state of being. This can be a heavy burden, far heavier than the perceived safety of conforming or blaming. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre spoke of this weight in existential terms, suggesting that man is condemned to be free. We are free, therefore responsible, and this responsibility can lead to anguish. Yet, alongside this weight comes immense wonder, the wonder of realizing the potential held within, the capacity to shape one's own character, to find meaning not in external dictates, but in the values and pursuits chosen from within, the freedom to define success on one's own terms, to find joy in unexpected places, to build connections based on genuine affinity rather than social obligation. This sense of self-ownership is beautifully intertwined with the musings on vulnerability and authentic connection. True connection requires the courage to reveal one's authentic self, the individual forged in solitude and contemplation. This vulnerability, often perceived as a weakness, is in fact a profound strength, an expression of freedom from the need to wear a mask or maintain facades. It is the freedom to be seen, fully and honestly, and to see others in return. This reciprocal vulnerability is where a genuine human connection takes root, a connection built not on conforming to expectations, but on the mutual acceptance of unique, complex individuals. Ultimately, being a free man is not a destination arrived at, but a continuous practice. It is a daily commitment to awareness, to questioning, to choosing. It is found not just in grand gestures, but in quiet moments. These small, consistent acts are the true building blocks of freedom. They are quiet revolutions happening within, dismantling the inner architecture of constraint, one thought, one choice, one breath at a time. The smoke that curls and drifts is a perfect metaphor for this journey, elusive, ever-changing, impossible to hold, yet leaving an undeniable trace, a presence in the air. Our musings, like that smoke, are an invitation to trace these paths of thought, to linger in the spaces between, and to discover freedom that resides not in the absence of restraint, but in the presence of conscious owned existence. To be a free man is to embark on this lifelong journey, guided by the flickering light of awareness and the quiet resilience of the individual spirit. This podcast has been epic fun. I've enjoyed almost every second of it. I have a lot of time here in York, South Carolina, on my family's farm. I'm on disability as of right now. I have time to look to research stuff, to write up podcast scripts, and to research and look into stuff. And being here back with my family on our family land, it's given me an opportunity to get to know my parents as human beings and as people. It's been awesome. And while I've been working on my music and these podcasts and my other projects, um, it gives me something to look forward to. And I have a morning show I do every day called Morning Jams from the Porch with Stephen Lake. That's about 15 to 20 minutes long. I do every weekday morning on Saturdays. I post it on Vimeo.com and also on my website, StephenLake.com, which are also home to my podcasts and other projects. I'll have another site, StephenLakeMusic.com, where I have my music available for download and calendars for I'm going to make live appearances and have shows. So StephenLake.com, StephenLakeMusic.com. You can also friend me on Facebook or social media, and and check me out wherever you find your podcasts. There's something quietly profound about the presence of a well-crafted piece of furniture. It does not simply occupy space, but rather it shapes the atmosphere, inviting you to pause, to settle, to become still. It was with this sense of timelessness and enduring comfort in mind that I must share a word about Leek furniture makers. For those who appreciate the subtleties of craftsmanship, Leek furniture makers represents more than mere utility. They are the custodians of tradition, artisans who fashion wood into heirlooms imbued with character and soul. Each piece they create carries the gentle imprint of human hands, shaped with care and an unyielding commitment to quality that echoes the patience and precision of old world craft. Imagine a sturdy yet inviting chair, its grain telling stories of forests past, its smooth curves a testament to hours spent shaping and refining. The warmth of the wood, cool to the touch yet comforting, creates a connection that goes beyond the functional. It is furniture that ages like a quiet companion, growing richer with time, much like the reflections shared in these musings. Leake's creations are conceived and realized through a deep reverence for natural materials, coupled with a profound respect for design that honors both form and function. Their pieces don't shout for attention. Instead, they whisper. They settle into your home with an ease that invites you to live fully with their embrace. Whether it's a writing desk that supports your thoughts and scribbled notes on or a lounge chair that cradles moments of contemplation, there's a palpable sense of durability woven into each creation, a presence that resists the fleeting whims of modern trends. Leake's furniture is an investment not merely in objects, but in experience, an innovation to cultivate a space where you can breathe freely, think deeply, and rest without pretense. In a world that often hurries, that values excess and disposability, to own a piece from Leake furniture makers is to choose something enduring, meaningful, and quietly radical. If you find yourself drawn to the tactile poetry of grain and joinery, to the humble beauty of materials that bear the marks of true artistry, then you may want to explore what Leek has to offer. Their dedication to craftsmanship aligns with the spirit we have celebrated here, a spirit that values quiet reflection, authenticity, and the slow unfolding of a life well lived. For those interested, I encourage you to visit Leek's Furniture Maker's website, where you can discover the range of pieces that await. Each one holds the promise of becoming part of your own narrative, an enduring witness to the moments of solitude, connection, and thought that form the essence of living free. To embrace a piece from Leap Furniture Makers is to invite a subtle companion into your daily existence, one that offers comfort, strength, and a touch of artistry, much like the musings we shared throughout the season. Consider this not merely an advertisement, but a quiet invitation to surround yourself with objects that embody care, craftsmanship, and an appreciation for the slower rhythms of life. I grew up working with them as they're my family business, and they're the real deal. My cousin and my uncle are genuine master artisans, and check them out. In the quiet corner where thoughts quietly gather and swirl, there exists a companion both simple and profound, a moleskin notebook, for those who cherish the freedom of the mind's roaming and the delicate art of capturing fleeting musings. These notebooks serve as more than just paper bound with between covers. They are the timeless canvas for the free thinker, the writer, the creative soul, seeking refuge from the ephemeral noise of the digital world. Imagine holding in your hand a book whose cover feels like soft, worn leather, inviting your touch with a subtle grain that tells a story of countless journeys. As your fingers trace its edges, you sense a promise, an invitation to slow down, to lean in, and to set down the intangible in ink. Inside, the paper awaits, smooth yet with a perfect enough texture to catch the tip of your pen, coaxing out your thoughts with gentle resistance that is both satisfying and grounding. There's something deeply intimate in the meaning of a pen and page within a moleskin. Each stroke carries a personal signature, unique pressure, pauses, occasional hesitation, all immortalized on a surface that welcomes imperfections as much as insights. The tactile experience is almost meditative. The subtle scent of fresh paper mingles with the familiar whisper of your writing, forming a quiet ritual that connects past and present, thought and form. These notebooks have long been companions of explorers of the mind and soul, artists, philosophers, journalists, and daydreamers alike. A vessel that holds not only sketches and scribbles, but the very fabric of ideas as they unfold. Their existence is a nod to the enduring power of analog creativity in an increasingly digital age. Using a moleskin is to embrace a form of freedom that is simple yet profound, the freedom to think without distraction, to give form to chaos, and to claim a small sacred space for reflection and invention. For those who, like us, dwell in the realm of introspection and measured thought, moleskin becomes more than a tool. It is a trusted confidant, a quiet archive of freedom expressed in countless ways. If you find yourself drawn to the art of deliberate living, to the pleasure of slow thought, and the physicality of ink meeting paper, I encourage you to make a moleskin notebook your next companion. Rediscover the joy of writing by hand, where every page turned is a new chance to reclaim freedom, one word at a time. The final smoke trails of this first season begin to fade. Into the quiet dusk, I find myself pausing, both as your host and as a fellow traveler on this winding path. A moment to extend a heartfelt thank you to you, the listener, who has chosen to spend these hours in the flickering glow of thought and shadow. Your presence has been the gentle flame sustaining these musings through every whispered word and contemplative silence. Yet the journey we embarked upon together was never meant to be a destination reached, but a shared exploration, a delicate dance with freedom as both muse and destination. We wandered through the dense fog of reflection and moments of stark clarity. We traced the contours of solitude and connection and embraced the uneasy beauty of questions left unanswered. Each episode was a step in assembling a quiet mosaic, a texture woven from smoke, shadow, and subtle traces of human experience. Freedom, the elusive, multifaceted companion of every thought shared here, has revealed itself as far more than a mere state of being. It is a practice, a commitment, an unfolding conversation with oneself and with the world. It is found not only in the absence of chains, but in the embrace of paradox, vulnerability, and the courage to inhabit one's own complexity. It is a flickering light in the vast night, often fragile, sometimes defiant, and always a work in progress. I invite you now to carry this flame forward, to hold it gently in your daily life. Take with you the small revolutions of intention, the conscious pauses before reaction, the willingness to dwell in stillness, the courage to question the familiar narratives, and the grace to accept the shadows as well as the light. These are not grand acts of rebellion, but quiet, steadfast steps toward authentic freedom. Steps taken not in solitude or isolation, but with the knowledge that there are many walking alongside, even if unseen. If this season's musings have stirred anything within you, whether a flicker of recognition, a spark of curiosity, or even discomfort, know that such stirrings are signs of engagement, the very essence of freedom's restless pulse. To rest, to resist complacency, to challenge comfort, and to invite introspection in a world that often insists on noise and haste is in itself an act of liberation. I'm deeply grateful for the gift of your attention, for the trust with which you allowed these late night wanderings into your own mental landscape. Your feedback, your silent votes of presence, and the shared spaces of reflection you have helped create are the true foundations of this endeavor. The smoke would dissipate without you. It is your willing reception that makes all of this more than just a solitary murmur in the dark. As we prepare to lay this season gently to rest, let us cherish the delicate balance between endings and beginnings. The close of this chapter is but a single exhale for the next inhale, the promise of more musings ahead, more questions to pose, and more quiet defiance in the face of conventionality. Until then, may you find moments of calm in the chaos, strength in vulnerability, and freedom in the depths of your own reflection. May your thoughts be like smoke, ever shifting, untouchable, yet quietly insistent, leaving traces in the air that invite others to pause and wonder. From this dimly lit room to wherever you listen, thank you for walking this path with me. I look forward to returning soon to the spaces between the words, the silence that sings, and the endless pursuit of freedom, and though, in spirit, in the quiet moments that make us who we are. I've got the next 50 episodes written out already, so don't worry. I'll be back soon. I'm Stephen Leake. Thanks for being with me tonight. We're gonna win. Clarity. In a world saturated with information, bombarded by opinions, and clouded by uncertainty, clarity is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. That's what Monarch Holdings International Incorporated offers the world. Clarity in the midst of static and noise. Every day, businesses, entrepreneurs, and creators navigate a relentless barrage. Market fluctuations, evolving technologies, competing voices. It's easy to feel lost, overwhelmed, unsure of the next step. The path forward can seem obscured, the right decisions elusive. This is the static that holds potential captive. This is the noise that drowns out innovation. But what if you could cut through that interference? What if you had a partner dedicated to bringing sharp focus to your vision? Monarch Holdings International is an innovative holding company registered in Nevada, built on a foundation of fostering entrepreneurial spirit, championing creativity, and advancing the principles of individual liberty and free markets. We're not just another corporation. We are a diverse ecosystem of ventures, united by a singular commitment to illuminate the way forward. How do we achieve this clarity? Through a potent combination of principled leadership and cutting-edge business intelligence. Our consulting services, for example, leverage the power of advanced tools like IBM SPSS, IBM Watson AI, and Palantir. We transform complex data into actionable, data-driven insights and clear strategic recommendations. This isn't just about numbers. It's about providing you with the profound understanding needed to make informed decisions with confidence, unlocking your potential. Our commitment to clarity and innovation extends across our diverse portfolio, from strategic business, market, and political consulting that empowers enterprises to navigate complex landscapes, to our publishing subsidiary, Monarch Literary Limited, which champions free thought, supports unique voices, and challenges the norm. We invest in technology app development, foster overlooked talent in music production, apparel, and support various freedom-oriented initiatives. Each subsidiary, while distinct, operates under our core values of integrity, collaboration, and innovation. We believe in empowering individuals and businesses to reach their zenith. At Monarch Holdings International, we don't just offer services, we offer a new perspective. We help you filter out the distractions, identify the opportunities, and build a resilient future. We understand that when you see clearly, you can achieve extraordinary things. We are redefining what it means to be a holding company in today's dynamic environment by focusing on what truly matters, unlocking potential and driving meaningful progress through principled leadership. Are you tired of the static, ready to silence the noise and find your focus? Whether you're an entrepreneur with a groundbreaking idea, a business leader navigating market complexities, or an innovator seeking a partner who shares your vision for a freer, more prosperous world, Monarch Holdings International Incorporated is here to help you achieve clarity. It's time to move beyond the uncertainty. It's time to see your path with precision. It's time to unlock your true potential. Discover the difference clarity can make. Visit monarchholdingsinternational.com to explore our subsidiaries, learn more about our comprehensive services, and understand our unwavering commitment to cutting-edge business intelligence and principled leadership. Monarch Holdings International Incorporated, cutting through the noise, delivering clarity, unlocking your potential.